So super quick. Lots of people, as I've said previously, come to the edge of the deep nature immersion. They have conversations, they read the stuff, and they feel a sense of resonance, like something inside of them wakes up and says, yeah, I'm at least really curious about that, what is it? And others are like, yeah, I'm going to do it. But those who kind of hang about on the threshold of that decision, who are like, oh, I'm not really sure, what's usually happening there is that a natural, or a kind of a pre-existing sense of ambivalence, this kind of sense that they have in their lives anyway of come to me, go away, like I really want it but I'm not going to allow myself to have it, or I really want it or I don't trust it. Ambivalent or anxious and preoccupied attachment styles, we would call that in a certain aspect of psychotherapy and psychology. That kicks in, and then all of a sudden they're very clear that it's not for them, right? So that's a very comforting place to be, is to kind of, yes, maybe, but not now, right? Because you kind of get to play out that story where you're like, yeah, I'm going to do it, but I'm not going to do it today. Mañana, right? So, and one of the things that comes into play with that is this very Western mindset of, I'll do it when I understand more about it, or when it feels okay, right? The WildMind Deep Nature Immersion is the antithesis of those ways of constructing the maps and the models of the world you have. It's not to say they're not valid, because absolutely they are. But if they are generally the only filters of perception that we have, or certainly the only ones that we're aware of and the ones that we predicate and rely upon, unconsciously mostly of course, then we miss out a lot, because our intuition doesn't get to play its full part. We don't get to really explore what happens when we don't understand. I remember when I studied neuro-linguistic programming, which I was really intensely into for about 5 years, and actually gave me the foundation, not just a set of tools, which is what people often say about NLP, but a set of tools that helps me make other tools. It's not a toolbox, it's a tool making kit, because there are so many possibilities with the understandings of how we create our maps and models of the world, how we create this subjective experience that we inhabit and call our lives. And so my teacher used to say all the time, used to come up to me and whisper in my ear when I was getting clever and intellectual. He'd say, understanding is the booby prize. What difference does it make? And then you have to kind of really dig a bit deeper into your psyche, which I now understand as the body, this kind of deep, resonant, felt sense that we can access and relate with and to and through. Not without our rational mind. We're not throwing everything else out, but it's just another deeper way of knowing. I posted an article on my LinkedIn page the other day about thinking beyond the brain. Science now has an understanding that there are other ways that we might be able to think, and we get a much deeper sense of what's possible and a deeper sense of ourselves in the mix. Indigenous people only think beyond the brain, if we're going to use thinking as a way of constructing and understanding ourselves. Thinking to me is very specifically the brain, and then we have other ways of knowing, which I would start to attribute to depth inquiries of many different flavors. Specifically in this context, embodiment, accessing the deep imagination, extraordinary states of consciousness, not taking any pharmaceuticals or psychedelics, just allowing the body's natural process and curiosity to guide us into not a dream, but the state similar to dreaming, but with a much clearer intention. So understanding is the booby prize means, so what? We have all this information, and certainly in the West, we've got so much knowledge. I mean, we can have access to anything, and we can reorganize it a million times and make it feel like it's something new. But I believe unless it's come through an authentic human presence into the world, it's not going to have efficacy. It's going to become superficial, fashionable, maybe useful for a brief moment in time, but it won't really have any depth to it, because that deep humanity won't be part of the offering. So understanding is the booby prize, getting over this thing of, I'll do it when I understand more about it, and kind of, we'd say on the deep nature emotion itself, when you come to a threshold, if you've been clear that this is what I want, and you know that, then learning to trust that is, okay, I'm not going to dwell on the threshold. I'm not going to stand here and wait until I'm really anxious and get my knickers in a bunch and then talk myself out of it and say, well, maybe I'll do it tomorrow. We have to gather our courage and remember to dig into our deep, wise self and be like, yeah, when I did the work to get clear on this intention, this is what I wanted, and now I'm meeting my resistance. But that's all I'm meeting is my own resistance. And the more I can be with my resistance and move forward, not force myself into something that I don't want to do, but just hang out with the resistance, the more that resistance starts to offer up wisdom, real wisdom, like what the wisdom is about, what the resistance was about, what is behind that resistance or beneath that resistance in terms of memories, experiences that we can then integrate and harvest what was stuck in there and take it forward. So this is just another version of things I've said previously, but I hope it makes sense, and I understand that there are many different ways I could talk about this, because there are lots of different people coming from different walks of life, different backgrounds, different kinds of experiences, who are curious about this kind of thing, increasingly so. And I want to make it as accessible and as available and explain it as best I can. So if you've got any questions, if any of that has caused you to think, what about, please drop them in the comments. I'd be really happy to answer them. Okay, ciao.